When you open your fridge, you've got these staples like cream, butter, maybe even some ghee. They seem so simple, right? But behind each one is this incredible story of chemistry, wild engineering, and even global economics. So let's dive in and see how it all works.
I mean, think about it. They all come from the exact same starting point, milk. But they end up with completely different textures, flavors, and all sorts of different uses. So how in the world does that happen? Well, it all kicks off with separating one absolutely crucial component, the fat.
All right, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of how they're made, let's just take a second to appreciate what they are. These are delicious, fat-rich products that are a huge deal in cuisines and cultures all over the world.
And we are not talking about some simple substance here. Milk fat is literally the most complex natural fat on the planet. It has over 400 different kinds of fatty acids. That mind-boggling complexity is the secret sauce. It's the key to all the unique flavors and textures we're about to get into.
First up, let's talk about ghee. It is a true culinary and cultural giant. At its core, it's basically purified milk fat. The whole process is about gently heating butter, simmering off all the water, and then letting the milk solids separate and fall away. And what you're left with is this beautiful golden, nutty, and incredibly stable cooking fat that is absolutely central to Indian cuisine.
And if you want to understand just how central it is, just look at this number. A full third, 33% of all the milk produced in India gets turned into ghee. That's not just a food item, it's a massive, massive part of the national dairy economy. Okay, next up, we've got butter. Now, scientifically, it's what's called a water-in-fat emulsion. Basically, when you churn cream, you're flipping its whole structure inside out, trapping tiny little water droplets inside this continuous network of fat. And to legally be called butter, it has to have at least 80% milk.
So you see, both ghee and butter start their lives as cream. And that brings us to the really fundamental technological challenge here. How do you even get that cream, that essential fatty part, out of the milk to begin with?
It's really a pretty simple question of physics, right? Fat is lighter than the rest of the milk, so it rises. If you leave a bottle of fresh, non-homogenized milk on the counter, you'll see a cream line form right at the top. But how do you do that efficiently for millions of gallons a day?
Well, the technological leap here is just massive. The old school way, gravity separation, is exactly what it sounds like. You just wait. For hours, sometimes a whole day. It's slow, it's imprecise. But the modern method? It uses centrifugal force to amplify gravity by 5 to 10,000 times. It turns a 24-hour process into a matter of seconds. So, picture this. Inside the separator is a stack of super-fast spinning conical discs. As the milk flows in, this incredible force just shoves the heavier skim milk to the outer edge. Meanwhile, the lighter fat globules, the cream, they all collect right in the center. And from there, two continuous streams just pour out, perfectly separated cream and skim milk. It's an absolute marvel of fluid dynamics. But it's not just about spinning wildly. It is a very precise science. The temperature has to be just right. Usually between 50 and 60 degrees Celsius is the sweet spot, because it lowers the milk's viscosity, the boil speed, the flow rate, even the size of the tiny fat globules themselves. All of it has to be perfectly controlled to get it right. Okay, we've seen the massive industrial machines. Now let's zoom in, like way, way in. What is a drop of cream, really? What is happening at the microscopic level that makes all of this work? And this is where it gets truly fascinating. A single drop of cream is like a whole universe filled with millions of these tiny spears of fat called milk fat globules. But here's the cool part. They aren't just naked drops of fat floating around. Each and every one is meticulously wrapped in its own complex, multi-layered biological spacesuit. And that spacesuit is the real unsung hero of dairy science, the milk fat globule membrane, or MFGM for short. It's this triple-layered biological shield made of phospholipids, proteins, enzymes, you name it. Its job is absolutely critical. It keeps the fat globules from clumping together, and it protects the delicate fat inside from going bad. This membrane is what dictates how cream behaves. And on top of all that, it's packed with stuff that actually has significant health benefits. So what's actually inside that protective membrane? Well, that's where those 400 fatty acids we mentioned come in. And you can basically group them by size. The short-chain ones, like butyric acid, are what give butter its characteristic aroma. And the long-chain ones, like palmitic acid, they're the ones that determine the texture and exactly how perfectly a pat of butter melts on your morning toast. All right, so we've gone from the microscopic fat globule all the way to the giant industrial separator. So let's zoom all the way out now and connect this incredible science to the massive global market that it supports.
I mean, just look at this chart. It's staggering. When it comes to butter and ghee, India is playing on a totally different level, producing over 6 million metric tons a year. That is more than double the entire European Union and almost 7 times the United States. A big part of that is because of high-fat buffalo milk, which is very common there.
Now, if we look at the global market for all fat-rich dairy products, we see some different dynamics playing out. North America leads in terms of value, mostly fueled by a massive bakery industry. Europe, of course, has its deep-rooted butter culture. But the region you really want to watch is Asia-Pacific. It is by far the fastest-growing market, powered by that huge ghee consumption in India and rising demand all across the continent. So, what's fueling all this growth worldwide? Well, it's really a mix of things. There's a growing awareness of the nutritional benefits of natural dairy fats. The global bakery and candy industry is just exploding. And, consumers like us are increasingly looking for premium products like fancy artisanal butters and high-quality traditionally made ghee. And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? The entire journey, from a single microscopic fat globule all the way to a global, multi-billion-dollar industry, is all powered by one simple, elegant principle: density. It's a pretty powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest industries are built on the smallest of differences.